Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Nevada Builders Alliance in Carson City. On the broadcast today, Kyle Roerink. He's the Executive Director of the Great Basin Water Network, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain. And for over 90 years, the Nevada Trucking Association has been the voice for the men and women in the trucking industry. From Carson City to Washington, D.C., we advocate for policies to protect our trucking companies and keep commerce flowing. Because Nevada's and America's prosperity is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Carson City, from the offices of the Nevada Builders Alliance. We are always delighted to welcome back to the program Kyle Roerink. He is the Executive Director of the Great Basin Water Network. Pleasure to have you back, sir.
Howdy.
So nothing going on in your world.
Nothing.
Dry
time.
Yes, seriously. Let's start out with the Nevada legislature and what are the most important bills that you're looking at for this session, because we've lost Pete Goakachia to the Board of Regents. He was the leading expert. State Senator Robin Titus is trying to pick up the mantle, but as she readily admits, she's got a big learning curve to go. Your thoughts?
Well, as it relates to leadership on water issues, I think a de facto leader on the Republican side would be Assemblyman DeLong, because of his experience in mining. I think he could teach a college level course on Nevada water law. Of course, Assemblyman Howard Watts on for the D's, very well versed in water issues. And then we have Selena LaRue Hatch has certainly taken an interest, really understands things, and of course the respective chairs on the natural resources committees, whether they want to become experts in water or not. The nature of the session forces them to. So it's coming from all different ways right now.
All right, so what's the biggest issues facing the legislature this time?
Well, on water, I think what is currently available right now, of course there's rumblings in the background, but we are focusing on different types of conservation programs. And I think we have to think about conservation in a way of What do we do when we have money available to retire or buy out water rights, buy back water rights? And then what do we do when we don't have truckloads of money coming into the state to retire water rights? And so we're dealing with both issues this session, AB 104 or SB 136, two bills that would solidify a water rights buyback program in the state. Some folks may recall that when the truckloads of COVID money were coming into Nevada, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources was able to administratively prop up a program because in the last session in 2023, the legislature was unwilling to get a program statutorily created. So ultimately, DCNR creates a program, distributes tens of millions of dollars out to agricultural communities to retire water rights in basins where there are high levels of conflict between what's available and between other water users. And some of that money also went to the Southern Nevada Water Authority as well. And I think there were a lot of lessons learned and best practices developed. So I feel like whether we're doing it via AB 104 or SB 36, which these concepts, I've been in a stakeholder group for well over a year, hashing all this stuff out, I think we can have the confidence for the legislature to get that implemented. The key is, yeah, we might be creating a water rights buyback program, but the legislature, as you know, there isn't any money available to fill it.
Well, that was going to be my obvious question here, which is how much money is needed and how much money do you think is potentially available?
Well, what size check can you write us, Sam? We need as much money as possible.
Right, well, what's realistic?
Gosh, you know, to limit conflict, we have, however you look at it, we'll just say 256 groundwater basins in the state of Nevada. You probably have, you know, a solid 24 of those where there is real conflict, where, you know, agricultural producers and other industries are, you know, on the verge of having to sue each other and maybe the state. So you're looking at, you know, I think if there were $100 million in that fund, it could get spent. And so what I've been saying is that if we build it, it will come. If we build the program and give confidence, whether that would be to the federal government, you know, bonding entities, private philanthropists, I think we can have money come in to fill those coffers over
Private
time.
philanthropists, really?
I think I think it's on the table.
Really?
Especially in a given basin. If a given basin is special to someone, or if you take somebody with really deep pockets to some of these places out in rural Nevada, they get it. Once people just, again, the notions that Nevada is just some barren wasteland. Once you take people out on the land and show it to them, and maybe you introduce them to a farmer, and then you take them to a spring, you take them to a creek, and they say, oh, I get it now. I see how these systems work, and they're delicate. So I think private philanthropy can be a part of the solution moving forward.
Is Ted Turner still traveling?
I want to get him, let's get him out to Diamond Valley.
Yes, for sure, because I mean that is so overused in terms of the amount of water available by the claims. I mean, would you be satisfied if it were a 5-year program of $20 million a year to get to that $100 million?
Sure.
Would that even, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever. I take $1.
And that's why
We got 3 million people in the state. If everybody gave $1.
We can't even fund the state engineer's office properly. So, like, yeah, I can.
In what way are we lacking there?
I think personnel, resources, they're behind. Utah's budget for their division of water rights, their state engineer's equivalent is their annual budget is almost double what Nevada's is. So, and funding for the state engineer has long been, I think, just something almost a trope at this point that we all harken back to. But it is true. And I think getting the state engineer resources to do some modernization of how we think about water as being available. And that's a really important tenet of our water laws of the state, is what's available at any given time. Where is it available? And how does availability in one part of one of these huge hydrographic basins, our big basins, how does that affect availability maybe 50 or 60 miles south? And that seems large, but
All right, but
these systems are...
All right, but there's another part to this, which is that when these numbers were laid down years and years ago, decades ago, they weren't accurate.
Yeah, and some people
So
would
our
argue
expectations
and that's what makes it tough, is what is availability. And I mean, that's what makes it fun, as like an analyst or an onlooker like I am in many regards. Just investigating what is available and where in a given spot is fascinating. But when you're the regulator and you gotta dish out a permit to, whether it's a mine or a developer or a farmer or some other entity, and you think, well, they want to drill a well right next to this spring or right next to the creek, and they're saying it's groundwater, but I know in my heart that this source is connected to that spring, so if they start pumping there, that'll go dry, or that creek will go dry. It gets really, really complicated, and especially with distances at play, the geology at play, the nature of our runoffs and our snowpacks that are changing, the soil moisture.
Are they okay? Now that's a good question. Are they really changing? Because we've had a lot of excitement, let's put it nicely, about water issues and snowpack and all the rest of it. But Northern Nevada, for example, has seen a great string of winters. I mean, with as we sit here taping this, there's a major storm on the way that should bring everything to normal level for March. This would be what, the third, fourth winter in a row that Northern Nevada has been doing just fine. It makes it hard to say that these climatic changes are 100%. The media might say that they're not, but...
Well, you have to look. You've even seen agencies like the USDA change how they come up with their medians and their averages. So, even regulators, people who monitor this stuff, are changing the way that they calculate the data because things are changing. And then you have to consider that because it is warmer, and then we have things like the albedo effect, which is dust on snow, which expedites runoff. We're seeing the patterns change. So our runoffs are coming earlier and earlier, which means you're going to have more evaporation earlier and earlier. And then our soils are drier. So our soils are sucking up more water. You're not getting as much recharge in aquifers. It's a domino effect in some regards. And yeah, you get your big years, no doubt about it. But then we're seeing greater gaps between your bigger years. And then you have these intricacies in your bigger years where you might just not be getting what you used to get. And then you think, like, if you grew up in the 1980s in Nevada, you'd be saying, what happened? This was, the snowpacks used to be a heck of a lot bigger. And so everything is relative as well.
What about deep geologic water? I mean, that goes back to the MX missile project under Ronald Reagan, where they discovered this vast ocean under eastern Nevada. But there were other places where they found deep geologic water as well. This is one-time use. Let's make that clear.
Yeah.
But how does that play into all of it? Do people even talk about that these days?
Oh yeah, we talk about it, and that's so much of the fights out in eastern Nevada dealt with deep geologic water. I call it fossil water. Some of our water sources are connected to other sources that are 20,000 years old. So some of the water that a farmer is using, could be from last winter or the winter before, depending on where you're pumping it from. But then some of that water could be 10,000, 20,000 years old. And you're right, it's not a renewable resource. You don't get it back once it's gone.
No, you don't. But in the interim, there is the possibility to utilize it.
Yeah, you could. And then how does that affect the overall system in the long term? How does that affect the geology underground?
Right. Well, I think you have to have the understanding that science and technology changes and improves over time, and computerization changes and improves over time, satellite technology. I mean, look at what ranchers and farmers are using today that wasn't available 20, 30 years ago to be more efficient with their water. And then you have the other side, and of course I'll get grief for this, but flood irrigation, which drives me completely nuts in a desert. I mean, that's insane. It's just as insane as LA letting all the water from the flooding in Los Angeles go out to the ocean. Billions of gallons of water wasted.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to peel back those onions. I think things like satellite ET monitoring, ET for evapotranspiration.
Thank you.
Better,
I was thinking of little space creature.
Better understanding about how a plant, say like alfalfa, consumes water. Is helping farmers. I've spoken with farmers that would say, if you're not using satellites to monitor how your plants, how your crops are consuming, you're missing out.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And so I think farmers are going to get better. Farmers want to be efficient, and I think there's a misnomer, at least with certain sects of the environmental movement, that like farmers are just these inherently wasteful people that just want to use, they're bound to waste water by the law. Farmers want to continue to farm, and they want to continue to have their investments for the future, largely for their families. And they know that they're dealing with resources that aren't always renewable.
Right, and also the commercial growers are not looking at this going, well, we can just waste the water. They want to continue to be profitable too in places like Smith Valley and up around Humboldt County. Let's take a break and we'll come back. We'll talk about an interesting lawsuit that is just ongoing after this time out.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org. Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Carl Roerink. He is the executive director of the Great Basin Water Network. I was contacted by a law firm in Southern Nevada who were requesting videos from shows we had done going back as far as 2005 concerning Coyote Springs and the water that they had gained, and they've been in a long battle now with the state over, and this law firm represented the state. Apparently there is an eminent domain case that is going on where potentially the state could be liable for around $1.6 billion. That is my understanding. If I'm wrong, please have somebody correct me out there in the audience. But how does this all play out in terms of the eminent domain portion of this and, the state engineer?
Well, first, I just want to say I'm glad that I'm not the only one that's gone back to watch those episodes. But I think really you're referring to a case between the state of Nevada and Coyote Springs, and it's been an ongoing legal saga. In the 8th JD, there have been other cases essentially fought over Coyote Springs and water, so this is turning into a tale as old as time. From what I've seen upon review of certain legal records, in the case that you're referencing, is that Coyote Springs is alleging takings, saying that the state of Nevada has basically taken their property rights. The state of Nevada had filed some counterclaims, and the judge has been weeding through all of that. So it is quite an imbroglio. It is a snake den. But and here we are today, and when you were out there recording those shows decades ago at this point, I think at that time you probably would have thought that Coyote Springs would have had at least 50,000 people out there.
Oh yes, it's 20,000 acres, I believe, and they built the golf course, and they were planning to build a housing complex similar to Red Hawk. And that's the sticking point, is all they ever were able to develop was the golf course.
Yeah, and that's still what's out there. I've taken a number of reporters out there. I think what has happened is after the state had awarded permits for Coyote Springs to use greater amounts of water out there, more and more science and understanding was developed about, again, what was available and how water supplies in one basin, Coyote Springs Valley, is connected to 5 or 6 other basins, and how that groundwater, some of it ancient, is actually connected to the Muddy River, which is an important tributary to the Colorado River system that flows right into Lake Mead. And so while at one time regulators thought in this whole region, through this 6-7 basin region, maybe there's like 30,000+ acre feet, somewhere between 30 or 40,000, and now there's only 8,000 acre feet available. So then the state says, we put too much on paper. There's not enough wet water. What do we do? And things had been clawed back and limited, and then that's when, in the water world, that's when you go to your attorneys. And I think what's interesting about this case is that it will help define, how can a regulator say, no, you cannot pump that anymore, after they had given out permits. Now, I think it could be argued, did Coyote Springs actually have a right established on some of that water that the state engineer was taking back? That's going to be a very interesting part of those claims as a judge in the 8th Judicial District figures that out. That's something I'm going to be looking at, because it will have a ripple effect throughout the state for many years to come. So I'm glad you're still paying attention to it. So.
Oh, absolutely. Well, when I get a phone call from a law firm, I pay attention. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Fantastic cocktails and delicious food.
It's a good time to eat.
Over 500 hot slots, plus electronic table games.
It's a good time to play.
Player rewards and big-time jackpots.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good times at Tamarack.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Carson City, we continue our conversation with Kyle Roerink. He is the executive director of the Great Basin Water Network. We have all these data farms that are, I mean, especially in northern Nevada, sprouting up, but they're going to be all over. How does that play into the water base?
For me, my biggest concern is where is the source of supply coming from for a data center? If they're able to cut deals with existing water uses, buy out entities that have water that are currently using it so then they can use it, that's less of a problem. But if you're getting into a situation where you're saying, well, we need to build giant pipelines to deliver water to a data center so we can have AI or whatever else, that could be more of a problem. And as you know, I'll be keeping my eye on it.
Yes, you will, sir. Thank you as always, Kyle. Hopefully we'll see you before the end of session.
Absolutely.
And we'll be right back.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their home. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the heat back on today. Call us today and we'll fix it today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why freeze for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your furnace fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
It happens. And when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers, come to you from Carson City, from the headquarters of the Nevada Builders Alliance. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for watching.